Hello, I'm Dr. Lanisha Robinson, your host for Career and Technical Education, #Build a Future. Working in St. Lucie Public Schools with the Career and Technical Education CT department, we want to show what our teachers and students are doing in the classroom to close the skills gap in multiple fields. The students in these programs are earning energy certifications, which create more opportunities and options for all students after high school graduation. In this upcoming episode, you will meet Mrs. Jenna Blankenbaker along with her student Berkeley Barnes from Fort Pierce Westwood Academy, the West Prep Magnet, and learn more about Agricultural Animal Science Academy. Welcome. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jenna Blankenbaker. I am one of the 3 agriculture teachers at Fort Pierce Westwood Academy, and I teach the animal science pathway as well as one of the FFA advisors there.
Hi, my name is Berkeley Barnes, and I am a student in the Animal Science Pathway, and I'm also president of the Fort Pierce Westwood FFA chapter.
Okay, so Mrs. Blankenbaker, so you teach one of the 3 pathways under agriculture. Can you explain the other 3 programs, and not necessarily explain it to us, but just list it out and exactly what you teach?
Sure. So in the agriculture program at our school, we have 3 different pathways that students can choose between. So we have the animal science pathway, which is directed more towards livestock animals and the production and care of livestock animals. Then there's the vet assisting pathway that is more with small animals and in a vet assisting or vet office type setting. And then we have the agriculture mechanics pathway, which is fabricating, using skills that would be needed on a farm or a ranch in the mechanical aspect.
Okay. All right, in Berkeley, can you tell me which course are you in and how long have you been in the program?
I'm in the Animal Science Pathway, and I switched to Westwood my sophomore year so I could become a member of the pathway. So I've been in the pathway for the last 3 years now.
Okay. So Mrs. Blankenbaker, I understand that you're still connected to the ag community and the industry.
Yes.
How are you staying connected, such as conferences, your advisory boards, et cetera?
Okay, so we work with a lot of different community members. We try to keep our program and our classes relevant to what our community needs. So by working with different aspects of the community, whether it be business partners or colleges in our area or even colleges just around the state, we try to make sure that our curriculum is aligned with what our area needs.
All right, now Berkeley, now with you being in the program, can you tell me what does this mean for you when you hear how your teacher is staying well connected to the industry?
So for a student in the program, essentially what it sounds like to me is that my teacher is going above and beyond to make sure that her students have the vocational skills that they need and they have the real world skills to be able to go off to future employers in the near future or as an intern in college. And it shows that they have the experience and they've had a teacher who has put forth a lot of knowledge and a lot of time to be able to give that and provide that to her students.
Okay. So coming from the industry, what made you decide to say, hey, I want to become a teacher and actually help the next generation?
I've always wanted to be an ag teacher pretty much since high school. So I majored in agriculture education at the University of Florida after high school, and then went into teaching directly after I graduated from college. But I was involved in an agriculture education classroom. I started when I was younger showing animals in 4-H, and as I got older I was very involved in FFA at the school that I went to. And I knew I always wanted to teach from a young age, and then I had a passion for working, with animals in the agriculture industry, and so it kind of made it really easy to combine the two and follow that path. And so I love it, and I've been doing it for 11 years now.
And we are so glad to have you with us in St. Lucie County. Now, can you tell me, because I know that is very important when students are learning about career exploration, they're learning about different career fields. How do you expose them at the middle school level, or how is St. Lucie Public Schools exposing our middle school students to the ag?
So there are different ways in our program that we can expose students to different careers in the agriculture industry. So obviously educating them during our class time is one way, and I try to bring in different different careers to come in and talk to our students. We've had, equine chiropractics, different veterinarians, farriers, different things like that to give an opportunity for students to learn about different careers. Along with that, though, in FFA, there's something called career development events, which are contests that are based upon careers in the agriculture industry that students can compete in. And the contests are aligned with those agriculture careers, and a lot of times they are hosted and sponsored by either the department at the University of Florida that major kind of correlates with, or with a business partner like FNGLA, talking about like the horticulture contest, for example. And that gives students an opportunity to get hands-on experiences for those careers in a kind of fun, competitive setting as well.
Mm-hmm. And then how are you connecting your students to the middle school level too?
Okay, so we have a feeder program now this year, or in the past few years, which is really exciting. So Alpata Flats, that they also have CDEs, or career development events, so that they get opportunities to learn about those careers as well. And then we do our best to work with them and alongside them to encourage those students to continue on into high school.
And I also understand that you also do virtual field trips for all of St.
Yes.
Lucie.
Yep. Yeah, so we have done, I guess, probably 4 or 5 at this point, virtual field trips with different middle schools, not just Alpata Flats, but we've done it with several middle schools, where we are able to kind of bring the middle school students to our facility. We have a really great facility, and show them some of the things that our students are learning. The students are able to talk back and forth with each other, and learn a little bit about what our program has to offer them.
Okay. Now, Berkeley, as a student, when you're actually learning about all the different opportunities that are out there, what exactly is your career like? Where do you see yourself in the near future? Once you graduate high school, what do you say, this is what I want to be?
Sure. So right now I'm dual enrolled. So my major is actually in political science. So I want to go into law and politics. And what FFA has done for me is we also have something called leadership development events. So you have career development events and leadership development events. And in leadership development events, I've had the opportunity to do prepared public speaking and parliamentary procedure. So those are 2 major things that will play into my career and into my success in the near future. And being able to lead this organization and encourage our members and be in this position of leadership is something that has probably inspired me the most, and is something that I will definitely be carrying into my career.
Okay. Now, you both are mentioning FFA. Can you please explain what exactly is FFA for our audience?
Sure. So FFA is an intercurricular organization. So it is actually written into our standards for the Department of Education, and it is a student-led agriculture leadership organization. So our students have an opportunity to hone in on their leadership skills, as well as gain more career and college skills that can help them be successful outside of high school. So that's a big component of the program.
Okay. And if we were to shadow a student in your class, what exactly will we see on a day-to-day basis?
So depending on what course they're in, depends a little bit more on if they're spending more time in like a lab environment, whether it be the barn or a hands-on experience, or in the classroom. As they go through the program, they do a little bit more hands-on experiences as they develop those skills. In the animal science pathway, we have a really nice facility on campus where students are able to do all kinds of different experiences, from vaccinating animals to giving shots, learning how to draw blood, basically anything that needs to be done for livestock production. We try to be able to do that on campus, and so the students get those hands-on skills while they're in school in a comfortable environment, so that hopefully when they go into the real world, they are able to apply those skills.
And that is equally important when you talk about students going into the next level. Mm-hmm. They're ready to go, because you mentioned how not just FFA, but that's the leadership piece, but career exploration, right, and then that hands-on piece. Now, Berkeley, what is your favorite experience, or that hands-on either technology or products? What's your favorite part of the class?
There's so many, but my favorite is being with the animals in the barn. I've had the opportunity to learn a lot, and actually on campus we do our own artificial insemination with our cattle. So we'll breed them on campus, They'll go through the 9 months of pregnancy, and then the calves will be birthed right there on campus, and then we'll have the opportunity to raise those calves and eventually get them in the show ring. So that's the coolest part of it for me.
Now, what would you say when you hear that and you think about, your other students? What other, I guess, technology, what other labs are you doing in your class to kind of excite them? Because I know when I went in the room and also in the barn, it was just, the students were engaged.
Right.
There wasn't a single student with their head down. There wasn't a single student trying to do something. It was amazing to see that.
So in our classroom, everything from injection labs, which is something we just finished, to animal identification. So, we spend a piece of time in class learning about whatever the lesson may be. So if we're learning proper injection methods, and then we spend time doing hands-on labs so that the students get that experience. I think anytime that you can give them an experience where they actually get to work with their hands and do it, not just learn about it or hear about it, that it's a lot easier for them to be engaged and to be interested, even if it's something that they might be scared or nervous about, because a lot of kids have never worked around like large animals or with needles and that kind of thing, and so it can be a little intimidating. And we start small in the classroom, maybe just practicing injections on oranges and bananas, and then moving up into being able to do it on our livestock in the barn. The interesting and kind of nice thing about having a barn full of animals is inevitably they will possibly get sick, or they just need vaccinations to prevent any sort of sicknesses. And so anytime that things need to be done involving the kids into the class into the maintenance of the facility is really exciting. Even at times, just as silly as it might sound, but when you have livestock animals, fences go down and they break, and kids enjoy just being able to work with their hands and help fix fence or whatever might need to be in the day-to-day operations of like a farm setting.
Okay. And why do you feel like it's very meaningful for students to get not only, because I'm hearing work-based learning essentially coming out of this conversation, why is it important for students to get that work-based learning now while they're in high school in your program? And then also, how does that tie to the industry?
So some of these students do want to go on into the animal science industry, so having those skills kind of ahead of time to lay like a foundation before they go into either directly into a career or to college will be helpful, that they have some basic foundational knowledge. But beyond that, a lot of students don't want to go into animal science pathway, and that's okay. However, there's two things that they're learning by getting those hands-on skills. One, they're learning work ethic, and that can follow you no matter what direction you want to go into, and having to complete a job that maybe doesn't sound like the most fun job at the beginning, but understanding the importance and the relevance to the job when we talk about the grand scheme of it. And then secondly, being able to gain skills that would help them into a career, down the road.
Now, Berkeley, you're receiving real-world experience right there on campus. Are you also working off campus or doing anything out in the real world that you can apply these skills?
Sure. So I show livestock of my own. And I've been showing livestock for the past 7 years. So I've learned so much from just being in this pathway for the past 3 years that I can go home and use on my own livestock. And these are practices that I can implement into my daily life. So that's just what I've learned, and there are many, many students who can say the same.
Okay. Now, I know that you all have a wealth of not only knowledge that you're giving your students, but the technology side. What improvements or new technology are you getting in your classroom?
Well, we recently were awarded the CAP grant, which was really a cool grant through the state. And so some of the things that we have been receiving or received that we're really excited about using here in the near future is we have some new ultrasound machines that we will be using on our livestock, so cattle and goats. We just got goats yesterday, so that's exciting. So we'll be able to ultrasound them as they go through the gestation process. We have a couple different simulators that are for different animals, so that we have live animals at the school, but kids learning on a simulator is a little less intimidating, and also it gives more students an opportunity. If we only have 2 goats, we can only do so many things with those 2 goats, but if we have simulators, then the kids get more of that opportunity as well. So we're excited about some of those different things that are coming in from the grant.
Okay. Now, can you please elaborate on the different courses? I know that there's a set of courses that all students must take in order to complete the program. And oftentimes people are wondering, okay, well, is it a one and done? So can you please explain that to us?
Yeah, in the animal science pathway, there's 3 courses to be a program completer. So it starts with Agriculture Foundations, which also doubles up as a science credit, and that is kind of a basic foundational course where kids will learn a little bit about everything in the ag industry. So from plant science to animal science, to the history of agriculture, ag mechanics, food science, and just touch on everything. And then from there, they'll enter Animal Science 2 and then Animal Science 3. And as they progress through the course, they get obviously more hands-on skills and go a little bit more in depth into the livestock industry in each course.
Okay. And I do know also that another unique opportunity that you offer your students is involvement in the St. Lucie County Fair. So what exactly do you all do with the fair?
Sure. So there's 3 components to an agriculture program. There's the agriculture classroom itself with classroom instruction. There's FFA, which we've talked about as well, which is the leadership component. And then there's something called SAE, which is supervised agricultural experience. And that's basically where kids get to use the experience that they learn in class as well as their leadership skills and apply it in the real world. And there's lots of ways that kids can do that. And one of the ways that a lot of our students do that is by starting their own entrepreneurship with raising an animal. And Berkeley touched on that a little bit as well. She's been doing that for several years. And that's where they invest their own money and their time into purchasing an animal, feeding it, raising it, learning the financial responsibilities as well as responsibility taking care of another living creature, the health management piece of that as well. And then at the county fair, they get to show it, and then at the end of it, they will sell it, auction it off, and then that money goes back into their entrepreneurship. And many students kind of grow their business, I guess you could say, from that.
Okay. Now, Berkeley, what is I know you participate in the fair, because I know Ms. Blankenbaker had mentioned that. What are your thoughts on being involved in the fair, bringing your skills from FFA, your leadership from FFA, and also the 4-H piece?
Well, excuse me. It's definitely hard work, and it's rewarding, I would say, to see all the hard work that I know I've put in throughout the year of my project, to then go to fair and be able to show what I've learned and to demonstrate that in the ring. And also building relationship with other students has been probably my favorite part of being in the St. Lucie County Fair. I've been in it for 12 years now, so building those friendships and having that sportsmanship in the ring is something that is very meaningful to me, and just being able to see my hard work being demonstrated, and I'm very proud of my projects. So
yes, and one piece that I also want to definitely highlight is entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial mindset that you're actually creating in the students. Do you see that a lot with your students, be able to basically be an entrepreneur because of what they're learning in your program?
Yeah, so again, touching on the SAE part, there's different types of SAEs that the kids can do. So there's the entrepreneurship category, which is where they start their own business or their own entity of some type. And I have kids who are raising their own livestock or buying heifers and breeding them and then selling calves. And so that's kind of a type of SAE. And then we have students have a social media campaign, and that's their own entity that they've created for their SAE and trying to advocate for the agriculture industry. And then there's students who also, it's called a placement SAE, where they either work or volunteer under another agriculture entity. And so we have students who have worked at different, there's a local pig farm that I have had a student work for a few years, and she was able to use, the skills that she learned in class into her career and then, or her job, and then was able to apply for an FFA proficiency and that kind of thing. And then there's agriculture research, where kids do a agriculture research project. And so there's different ways that they can use their skills kind of in the real world. But entrepreneurship is a big piece of it, and especially when we talk about the livestock projects, they're learning how to manage their money. Some of the students take out USDA loans to start their project, which I think is a really good experience for them to learn how to take out a loan and then manage that loan to the end to make sure that you make enough money to pay back the loan and also profit off of your project. So it's a really good experience that can follow them, I think, through their entire life.
Okay. Now I see Berkeley, she is definitely nodding away, saying she's in approval. Can you explain like your experience with entrepreneurship?
Sure. So my experience starts from a young age, and then I followed that into FFA. So I started with my first show pig when I was in 5th grade. And obviously getting started, I was fortunate enough to have parents who helped out with the feeding process and the expenses. But then at the end of the year, I remember having to pay them back, and I kept a small portion of money which would go to my next year's project. And I've been able to grow savings off of that, which will help me into college, and is all in a savings account as of right now. And I made enough money to be able to even purchase my first show steer this year, which steers are a larger animal, so the feed expenses are a little bit more, and the equipment that comes with them. So I've put forth enough money to be able to put all of my finances into my steer, and then I plan on making that back at the end of this year, and then that all goes towards college. And learning how to save that money has been something that I'll be forever grateful, especially for my parents, for encouraging saving and not spending, and learning how to manage your money properly to know, okay, well, I have to buy feed every 2 weeks. How much money should I be putting aside for feed, or how much money should I be putting aside if I need new hair care for my steer, or certain equipments, or water buckets, or feed troughs. So money managing, and especially time managing, has been super useful in that development.
Right. And another takeaway from that is when you both were mentioning entrepreneurship, but then you look at the financial piece, the financial literacy that all students need to have prior to graduating and going to the real world. So you're learning about business finance and personal finance. So that's amazing. And thank you to those wonderful parents of yours. And of course, your wonderful teacher.
Yes.
All right, so I want to also discuss industry certifications.
Yeah.
Because I know that not only with career exploration, through your program, students are able to now say, hey, this is not only a time saver, but a cost saver for your students.
Right.
So how is that being implemented in your program?
Sure. So in the animal science pathway, there are 4 possible industry certifications that students can graduate with. And those are really great for resume builders, or job applications, or college applications, scholarship applications. And it also shows possible employers or colleges that students have some of these skills that are needed in the workforce. But they start off being able to get the first 3 are through the Florida Farm Bureau. And through a program called AEST. But the first one is the agriculture systems, and then an associate of agriculture, then an animal science specialist, and then the last one is through Elanco, and it is a animal science certification through Elanco. And so at the end of the 3 years, students should be able to graduate with 4 industry certifications to add to their kind of toolbox of things that they can put on a resume or job application or college application.
Now, with those 4 certifications that you offer, these certifications are also industry recognized, and also where employers say this is a needed industry certification?
Right, so especially with the Florida Farm Bureau, they work directly with Florida entities, and so the certifications were based off of our curriculum that was written for Florida, and it's written by different agriculture teachers throughout the state, as well as different industries in our state. And so it's really relevant to our coursework as well as our state, because animal science can be different from state to state and even areas in our state. So the way that we raise animals and the purposes that we raise livestock in Florida is very different than maybe out west or up north or something like that. And so our industry certifications are very relevant to our local industries. And then the Florida Farm Bureau has also created a job board for students who graduate with those industry certifications to look for jobs based off of those certifications. So they try to connect the dots like a full circle. And so it's really nice for students to be able to complete those and then be able to even search for a job on the industry certification website that's relevant to their actual certification.
Now, which certifications have you earned, Berkeley?
I have earned 3 of the 4, so that is Ag Systems, Ag Associates, and the Animal Science certification. And again, those are 3 that, well, I plan to take 4 by the end of my senior year. And those are something that I will be putting on college applications and even work applications, just so it can show employers that I started a program and I successfully completed a program with an abundance of knowledge gained.
Okay. And what are some examples of, I guess, career opportunities that are out there because of these certifications?
Sure. I have students who have gone directly into the workforce and who might be, I mentioned a student who's working at a local pig farm. I have kids who might be working on different farms or ranches, but then I have kids who, I have a student right now who graduated from my program several years ago and just is starting vet school this year, so that's really exciting. I have kids who have gone off into college and are majoring in different types of animal science industries, whether that's equine science. We have I've past student just graduated and she's at the University of Kentucky for equine science. So whether they go into a career working at a local farm or ranch, or whether they go off to college to further their knowledge in the animal science industry, I feel that they have at least a foundational base knowledge to kind of go off of, and if nothing else, it opened their eyes to some of the possibilities that they can do.
Now, I also know that with CTE, you're mentioning your students are not only doing a career path, but they're doing a college path too.
Right.
So you're also giving your students an opportunity to be basically college and career ready. Right. So then what articulation agreements are in place for students that not only for the college path to get college credits?
So we have articulation agreement with IRSC. So students who are program completers get college credit through IRSC, as well as students, the state has articulation agreement that students have completed our industry certifications, get college credit for that as well. And our state colleges have that articulation agreement with the state, but also there's another school in South Georgia, ABAC, Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, and they also are part of that articulation agreement where they have agreed that students who have those AEST certifications will get college credit when they go to school there. So to me, that just kind of shows the importance and how much that colleges recognize the hard work that the students are putting in during high school to be able to get these certifications, that they're awarding college credits based off of that.
Okay. So with your program and with career technical education, why is it important for students to be involved in a career technical education program? And then also, how can they find out more information about your program?
Sure. So at any vocational program, it's kind of, I think is really important for kids to learn hands-on skills, whether they decide to go into that career or not. They're going to learn skills that will follow them, just hard work ethic, being dedicated, being able to start and finish something and complete it successfully. All of those qualities are taught during vocational programs. I think it's really important because, again, those qualities will be helpful whether they go into college or a career. And then if students are interested in joining our program, the agriculture program, no matter which pathway, you can get a hold of me by using my email address, jenna.blankenbaker@stlucieschools.org, or calling our school office, and we can help get you set up for going to Westwood for the agriculture program.
Okay. I would like to say, I know we're closing out, but I'd like to say thank you because you're preparing our students to be both college and career ready. You'll make sure our students are also saving time they're also saving money in
Right.
the end. So thank you. All right, so I'm Dr. Lanisha Robinson, and this is Career and Technical Education, #Build a Future. I encourage you to view our St. Lucie Public Schools Career and Technical Education Department page. In Career and Technical Education, we are establishing a pipeline from the secondary to the post-secondary and career pathways for all of our students. We are building a future and continuing to close the skills gap. On behalf of the station's team, I'd like to thank you for joining us today.